50 world leaders assess the worldwide nuclear threat at a summit in the United States. How minibuses benefit the South African economy. And Beyoncé finds a new world to conquer. Africa 54 starts right now.
Good evening and welcome. I'm Vincent Makori. This is Africa 54. Now, the final day of the two-day nuclear summit is underway in Washington, D.C. A short time ago, U.S. President Barack Obama spoke about the nuclear deal with Iran, which did not send a delegation to Washington for the summit.
All of our differences with Iran, including destabilizing activities in the region. Except for limited exceptions, the U.S. trade embargo on Iran remains in place. We also continue to vigorously enforce sanctions pertaining to Iran's support for terrorism, human rights abuses, and ballistic missile programs. That's U.S. policy. But what this group, that doesn't agree on all aspects of policy, does agree on, is that this deal has achieved a substantial success and focused on the dangers of nuclear proliferation in an effective way.
Well, for more on the nuclear summit, VOA State Department correspondent Pam Dawkins joins me live from the conference in Washington, D.C. Pam, what are world leaders hoping to accomplish during the summit?
Well, President Obama has warned world officials not to become complacent when it comes to nuclear security. Officials are hoping to walk away with a broad game plan on nuclear security, and they're hoping that this will include provisions such as efforts to minimize the misuse of highly enriched uranium and also steps to deal with nuclear smuggling. Now, all of this is part of a broad plan that President Obama first laid out in Prague back in 2009. This is now his fourth and final summit. Not all of the countries here have met their goals, but there is hope that work will continue going forward on meeting some of those goals.
Now, how have the terrorist attacks in Brussels and the ongoing provocation from North Korea impacted this summit?
They've heightened the sense of urgency when it comes to nuclear security. There were reports that two of the brothers who are linked to the attacks in Brussels were also part of a plot to get information about a nuclear site in that country. And also, this summit has come at a time of increased provocations from North Korea. Some of those have been directed against the United States and South Korea. And also, North Korea has increased its nuclear and ballistic missile tests.
Now, we know that Russian President Vladimir Putin is not at this summit. He has attended in the past. Why is he not at this summit?
Well, this is part of a broader issue. There have been heightened tensions between the United States and Russia on some issues, the situation in Syria and also the situation in Ukraine. But State Department officials have pointed out that Russia has been cooperative with the U.S. on other issues, such as the Iran nuclear plan.
Now, we know 50 leaders coming together. Are there any other issues that probably are being discussed on the sidelines?
Absolutely. Both President Obama and Secretary of State Kerry have had bilats with officials on a wide range of issues on the sidelines of the summit. And those have been issues ranging from climate change to trade. There was also a talk earlier today concerning the Iran nuclear deal, and progress is made since the deal was implemented.
Pam, thank you very much for your reporting. Well, Pam Dawkins, a VOA State Department correspondent, reporting live from the nuclear summit here in Washington. More now on the Nuclear Security Summit. A few African heads of state are attending the summit. Among them, Gabonese President Ali Bongo Ondimba, Nigeria's President Muhammadu Buhari, Algeria's Prime Minister Abdelmalek Salal, as well as representatives from South Africa and Egypt. Well, let's get the African perspective on the nuclear summit. Africa 54's Esther Giduyuwa joins us live from the Capitol Hill. Hi, Esther.
Hi, Vincent. Actually, the concern, Africa should be concerned, from what I'm hearing here, is that there should be a grave concern as to where nuclear and radioactive materials end up. If you look at Africa, and you mentioned that the Gabonese president is here, he actually spoke to the Voice of America's French to Africa service, and he was asked the question of why is he here, should we be concerned? And the answer that he gave, I was able to listen to a little bit of that interview, and he says his country, Gabon, has uranium, and the question is, for the countries of Africa that have uranium, which can be used to make dirty bombs, like even Niger and countries like Central African Republic or even the Democratic Republic of Congo, is whether they are complying with the IAEA regulations. But he says his country decides and goes along with the regulations and procedures of the International Atomic Energy Agency to decide who they should sell the uranium to and where this ends up, and that is to make the countries safe, to make the international community safe. And so there's that concern. When you look at Central Africa, if you look at the Central African Republic and also the DRC, there has been political instability, and one of the concerns is as to who do they sell their uranium to, and where does that end up? Vincent.
Now, very, very quickly, you have spoken probably to Africans who reside in Washington, D.C. What are they telling you, some of their concerns regarding this kind of issue?
I spoke to a cross-section of Africans, yes, here in Washington, D.C., and I spoke to one Nigerian woman who gave me a different perspective. She says Nigeria is also concerned about the number of students coming from Nigeria going to Iran to take sciences, biology, technology, and what they plan to come back and do. There have been concerns raised about students pursuing sciences. Also, I spoke to a gentleman from Chad who also mentioned Libyan students going to the Middle East to study biology, sciences, and there has also been the same concern. I was surprised about the similar conversations about people from Nigeria and people from Libya, that they are actually concerned that these people could come back. It takes one bad guy to decide, you know what, we have uranium here, we can turn it into dirty bombs, and we can hand it over to the militants and the terrorists, and the rest could be another very, very bad outcome.
Indeed, a concern for everyone. Esther, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Well, viewers, Esther Githuiwat reporting from Capitol Hill. Now, the threat of cyber attacks on nuclear power plants and other nuclear facilities is substantial and growing, and that is according to a report this week by a prominent nuclear industry group. Experts meeting in Washington say the attackers are getting more skillful and dangerous. Viewers, Jim Randall reports.
A cyber attack against Korea hydro and nuclear power saw hackers steal and release information in what might have been a bid to raise public concern about the nuclear industry. The company conducted drills like this one in the wake of the attack to strengthen its defenses. In many cases, hackers are focused on the computers that control critical industrial processes. That worries experts at the Nuclear Industry Summit in Washington, who say the consequences of such attacks can be substantial in terms of damaged equipment and disrupted service to the public.
Cyber attacks on nuclear facilities have happened. It's not a fantasy, it's not a hypothetical situation, it's what happens in real life.
Even in technically sophisticated nuclear facilities, computer experts say it can be difficult to persuade computer users to follow basic safety precautions like not clicking on attachments from unknown email or inserting thumb drives from unknown sources. Careless employees are the biggest problem, according to Ryan Kellenber of the cybersecurity firm Proofpoint, who spoke via Skype.
The lesson from that is that people are always the weak link in the chain.
While nuclear facilities are targets, an expert at the Agari cybersecurity firm says they also have significant protection against many kinds of threats. Patrick Peterson spoke via Skype.
Not because the nuclear industry is so secure from cyber attacks, but because they actually have so many safeguards and controls to prevent a meltdown.
Expecting more attacks, the Nuclear Industry Summit study says the industry must change from a culture focused on following rules to one that seeks out vulnerabilities in the creative and original way that hackers do. The authors also call for expanding cooperation between companies and countries as they try to fend off attacks. Jim Randall, VOA News, Washington.
The UN Human Rights Commissioner is promising a thorough investigation into allegations that UN and French soldiers sexually abused a large number of women and girls in the Central African Republic. Among the disturbing accounts, at least 3 girls told a UN human rights official that a French military commander had them, along with a 4th girl, engage in sex with a dog while inside a military camp. U.S. Ambassador to the UN, Samantha Power, visited some of the families of the victims. She says although soldiers have been moved away from people, the leadership in their home countries need to do more.
And if you're a soldier now, even if the prevention steps are good, if you're a soldier, you believe that there is impunity because there has never been real accountability. And so the leadership here is aware of that. They're trying to fix it. But a lot of the work has to happen in the capitals of the countries that send the troops.
On the latest allegations against some of the troops, UN Secretary General Ban Ki-moon said he was shocked to the core. France says if the allegations are proven, exemplary disciplinary action will be imposed in addition to the criminal response. Well, Uganda's Supreme Court has upheld the re-election of President Yoweri Museveni in the February 18th national poll. The court rejected a petition brought by former Prime Minister and presidential candidate Amama Mbabazi. The Electoral Commission announced last month that Museveni, shown here, arriving for a debate, had won 60% of the vote to opposition challenger Kizza Besigye's 30%. Uganda's Minister of Information and National Guidance says it is up to Museveni and the opposition to heal and reunite the country now that the courts have spoken. Joining us now on the phone from Kampala in Uganda is reporter Brian Harrington. Hi, Brian.
Hi, Vincent.
Now, yes, first give us a reaction, especially by the opposition to this ruling.
Well, this case, the ruling in the case was not a big surprise to anybody. There were plenty of people in the opposition saying, well before the ruling came out, that it was going to be struck down. And that's because it's not the first time this has happened. The main opposition candidate, Kizza Besigye, he contested in 2001 and 2006, and both of those were struck down. So the reaction when the judges came out with this ruling was more on the merits of the case, because Amama Mbabazi is a former lawyer, formerly very close to the president, and he was expected to bring a very strong case. But his lawyers have argued that the process for bringing a petition is unfair. They had 10 days to prepare their case, which involved gathering evidence from all over the country. They say that was unfair. It's not enough time in a case like this. And had they had more time, they could have presented a stronger case. And the main opposition leader over here, the Forum for Democratic Change leader, Kizza Besigye, he said that at this point, nothing will legitimize the results of this election, which he is still calling a sham.
And indeed, that is what they call even the previous election results. But the question is, what are Ugandans saying? Are they bothered at all by this? Are they going on with their lives?
There's been a lot of talk about it in the media, in social media. It has been the talk of the town to a great extent. But there wasn't a huge surprise about this actual case. People are very much going about their lives, but there has been a little bit more tension in Kampala in the past, certainly since the election. There's a very strong police presence, and people are really feeling that. But I think at the moment there is a feeling that this election, it's happened on February 18th, and there is a feeling now that people want to move on with their lives a little bit.
So there were those who were expecting further chaos. It looks like that is not something to worry about.
Well, there has been a development today, in fact, in that, as I said, there is quite a heavy police presence in town, and Kizza Besigye, the FDC leader, who's really considered to be the main opposition over here, has been under de facto house arrest since the election. But there was an announcement today that the police presence that's been outside his home 24 hours a day since this election, restricting his movements and restricting who can see him, that is now being lifted. It hasn't happened yet. I've just come from his house, and the police have not left yet. They said there'll be more news tomorrow. But that is a real sign that tensions are lifting, that the government and that the police feel that they want to put this election to bed and let the country move on.
Very quickly, does Besigye and you at his residence today seem to have any hope of changing anything anytime soon?
Well, there's been no sign of Mr. Besigye today because he's still in his home, and the people who are going in and out, we saw the party president, Mugisha Mintu, come in. He didn't speak to the press. There's a feeling now that they're so close to him just being released that they don't really want to say much. But what did happen is that while we were at his home, representatives of the youth wing of the leading NRM party, the ruling NRM, and the Forum for Democratic Change emerged together. So that was a sign that they were trying to move on.
Ryan, thank you very much. Grant Harrington reporting live via phone from Kampala in Uganda. Now, the European Union and Greece will begin sending migrants from the Greek Isles to Turkey on Monday. The deportation plan, which includes Syrians, is part of a deal reached 2 weeks ago between the Turkish government and the EU. The agreement aims to ease Europe's migrant crisis, but human rights advocates and leftists in Europe protested the deal, saying it arises from xenophobia. The European Council will begin sending migrants identified as irregulars and new migrants to Turkey on Monday. As part of the arrangement, Turkey gets more than $3 billion in aid, eases visa restrictions for Turkish nationals, and Turkey gets new opportunities to join the European Union. Well, I want to know what you think about Africa 54 and the stories we cover. Join the conversation on Facebook. The address is Africa 54. And check out our headlines 24/7 on voaafrica.com. Find me on Twitter at VOA Vincent Makori. Well, coming up, how minibuses benefit the South African economy. Stay with us.
Alexandra Brew is a diner from France at a one-of-a-kind restaurant in Shanghai. Ultraviolet literally marries effect with food. Sound effects and optical illusions using techno lights pair well with a 20-course meal. Founder and head chef Paul Perret.
The ambiance that will be surrounding a dish and will be tailored on a specific dish.
Behind the scenes, a nerve center controls every visual, sound, and scented effect designed to enhance each edible course. And there are 20 of them.
You're just thinking, what is going to happen next?
Inside the kitchen, the staff might blow torch course 5 or moisten your palate with vaporized iodine water. Ultraviolet serves just 10 people, but this unique experience will cost about $1,000 a person. For VOA's BizBeat, I'm Philip Alexio.
I wanted to present music and a side of American culture that is most important to me, that is a part of who I am. They're going to get some incredible performances. That's one of the things I love, bringing these artists in so you can get to see them do what they do. It's soul music, and that's what music is. It's that which comes from the soul.
Well, millions of South Africans use minibus taxis every day, even though most people describe them as dangerous. The industry is worth $2.6 billion and makes a valuable contribution to the country's struggling economy. VOA's Caroline Turner has the story.
Milton Dube has been driving a minibus taxi in Johannesburg for the last 15 years. He wears a suit and tie to work. On a good day, he makes 1,000 rand, or $65 US.
This is what I call my office. This is what puts food on the table.
Taxi terminals can be crowded and drivers are often rowdy or drunk, but passengers still wait in queues for a ride. Nearly 19 million South Africans use minibus taxis to get around. The industry employs close to 1 million people and is estimated to be worth 40 billion rand, but analysts say the business could be worth much more.
Taxi bosses are like racketeering landlords. With due respect to them, they don't have a great deal to do with the day-to-day reality of their customers. They're concerned only with the revenue coming in from day to day.
Taxi owners are reluctant to say exactly how much money they make or how many taxis they own because they fear it makes them a target. Joseph Makanza, a taxi owner in Johannesburg, was only willing to say that he employs 100 drivers.
It will differ from one person to another. The more you buy vehicles, the more you have more revenue, the more you have more income. And again, at the same time, the more you have expenses. And in terms of the driver's payment, we pay our drivers 20% of the turnover that they've brought. Like in terms of taxes, if a taxi you have managed to make about, say, 7,000 or 6,000 rand per week, then we pay him 20% of 6,000 rand.
Owners claim drivers are notorious for stealing the take, and drivers accuse owners of poor pay. Analysts say the industry is underregulated. Some of his drivers are taking part in a program to change the attitudes toward taxi drivers. Officials at the South Africa Taxi Association say this could transform the industry.
Currently, the minibus taxis are accounting for about 68.8% of land-based transport, which means they are bigger than the buses and the trains put together. The industry transports on a day an average of about 19 million passengers.
Commuters have options, from the high-speed GO train to a bus rapid transit system, but the combis are more affordable.
As of like this morning, for me to get to work, I had to stand in a queue for about 2 hours. And then when you get into a taxi, the driver is so rude. They drive too fast. I don't think they obey to the rules of the road. So for me, it's a bit of a mission.
Yeah, I prefer using buses, but they take long.
Some taxis make you feel safe, some don't. It's a 50-50 situation.
Efficient transport systems could save the world's cities up to $17 trillion by the year 2050, according to a report by a project called New Climate Economy. Carolyn Turner, VOA News.
Well, it's time now for a short break. Still to come on Africa 54. Queen Bee drops a new active wear clothing line. We'll be right back.
We hereby declare that the first respondent was validly elected as president.
Take over. The phone boundaries.
Hamilton Live is a live audience performance. With live music, you have that interaction. There's nothing like getting that immediate feedback from the folks that you're performing to. They feel it and they respond back to you. You see it in their eyes. You know that you're connecting with them. Like if any form of communication, it's that response that you get back.
Welcome back to Africa 54. Here's what's trending. Love them or hate them, the Kardashians know how to create a buzz. Kylie Jenner has picked a new medium to promote her brand, Kylie Cosmetics. A pseudo music video that the 18-year-old member of the Kardashians, Jenner family, released glosses on Thursday. Now, in the video, Kylie drives up in a luxury car and applies lip gloss while waiting outside a desert motel. The end of the video and Kylie's Twitter tease an announcement for Friday, maybe a single release, maybe it's all just an April Fool's Day joke, or maybe not. Kylie's first liquid lipstick sold out in 30 seconds and crashed her website. Well, Well, in other advertising news, in this behind-the-scenes footage of her new activewear line, Ivy Park, Beyonce is poised to inspire another cultural, sartorial, and physical moment. Now, showcasing key looks from the 20-piece collection, Beyonce and her squad of fitness enthusiasts work up a sweat in cool activewear. Beyonce is her own best advertisement for getting into fighting shape. Prices start at $30 and cap out at $200. The line goes on sale at select department stores starting in mid-April. Well, and finally, here's your first look at the new trailer for the wildly popular RBC series Top Gear. The globally popular British motoring show will have a new cast of presenters when it returns next month, but the tire-squealing trailer suggests it's business as usual in terms of high-octane action and outlandish stunts. The new series is already under a lot of scrutiny as the new cast takes over from the long-running team of Jeremy Clarkson, James May, and Richard Hammond, who left last year amid controversy. The Ulster trio are preparing their own car show on Amazon. Details of the Amazon show are yet to be confirmed, and that is what is trending today.
Why is it red?
Now, that's our show for today, and now we leave you with the music of Ghanaian artist Adam.
Maven.
From Nigeria to Ghana, Soweto to Kenya, I held them one by one. African girl them right by far. Where the girl run? Champagne. By the bar, me no complain. Bike here, foot by plane. This type of girl, give my grain. Some girl them thing, boy insane. Every day, make money rain. This type of girl, when I your lane. Somebody them bad, listen here. No girl. Nafaga na dugaba yashi. Kaka nuchu faga dodo lenchi. Agba na kogaba akledechi. Special delivery. Nyejilo, nyekbe, nyejilo, nyekbe, nyejilo, nyekbe, nyefejilo, nyefekbe. From Nigeria to Ghana, Soweto to Kenya. I held them one by one. African girl them right by far. Straight from the Garden of Eden. Picado has come here to tell them. All them girls see and fear them. Boys now waka kurukere, I go tear them. I'm a bad man, fresh out the jet. Money no be problem, you can relate. Yeah. But when I spend up, I love the scared. Cause I'm gonna work that, booty and repeat.
EL too bad, every man complain. And she a rip up the man down straight. She do it for the money and she do it for the fame. Tight body girl, good body shape. See the body too bad, the president pay. I hear say for leg on the boy so great. Bedroom bully, 2-1. You coulda be a porn star, you can't contain. Nafagabachi na dugaba yashi. Kaka nuchu faga dodo lenchi. Agba nafagaba akledechi. Special delivery. Nyejilo, nyekbe, nyejilo.
Welcome to the Voice of America's News Words.
Does this word mean something good has happened?
Unleashed. The president is sending Secretary of State John Kerry to the Middle East to help build a coalition to defeat the militants who have unleashed a wave of violence that has included attacks on Iraq's Christians and other minority communities, and recently the videotaped killing of American journalist James Foley.
Unleashed means to let something very powerful happen quickly.
It is like taking a leash off a dog and letting it attack someone. In our story, the militants unleashed or set off a wave of violence.
Usually, unleashed does not mean something good.
So, the next time you hear the word unleashed, you will know what this news word means.